Many of us struggle with our weight on a daily basis, but for Ed Ugel, this battle of the bulge was so tough he decided to get serious about it. He set off on a year-long quest to lose 50 pounds and regain his health, which he documented in his new book, I'm With Fatty. And Ed Ugel is here to tell us more about it. Welcome, Ed. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
What motivated you to start on this difficult journey in the first place?
Well, it was born of a serious health issue. I thought I was just getting chubby around the middle and chin, but it turns out that my wife taped me sleeping, and my snoring was so bad that it turned out that it was sleep apnea. And sleep apnea, of course, is when you stop breathing in your sleep, which is not a good thing.
And that's related to weight.
That's related to weight. There's not an absolute cause effect, at least my doctor wouldn't put it that way, but once I put the weight on, the apnea showed up, and when I lost the weight, the apnea dissipated. So at least for me, that was the motivating factor.
And good news for your wife as well.
To say the least. Poor girl.
I know. Now, in this book, you're very honest about the difficulty you went through losing weight and coming to terms with the fact that you were a food addict. Can you tell us about that?
Well, you know, I'm a lover of food,
right,
as many people are, but I think when you wake up in the middle of the night and you find yourself with a piece of steak in one hand and a pint of Ben & Jerry's in the other, you realize that maybe you've gone past the point of no return. So for me, it was really trying to find a way to isolate what was passion versus what was really addiction and what was something that I needed to change for the rest of my life.
So how hard is it to find a healthy relationship to food for someone who obviously loves food so much?
Well, I don't think it's as hard as it sounds. For me, it's about moderation, and really what I tried to do is cook my way out of this problem. When I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, as much as I love to cook and my food I think is delicious, it's not really that unhealthy. Just naturally, I cook a relatively healthy meal. It's when you're eating out of styrofoam boxes and Chinese takeout that I really get myself in trouble, and I think that that's really par for the course for a lot of the country too.
Yeah, I think that's a big takeaway from your book, that if you learn to cook for yourself, you will ultimately eat a lot more healthy. Going out to eat is often the worst way we can eat.
Well, I think it's almost impossible to cook as poorly for yourself as the restaurants do, especially fast food and carry out. And now being a father of 2 young daughters, I'm really trying to show them more and more how to cook and how to enjoy the kitchen and feel comfortable in the kitchen so that they're never dependent on other people to decide what goes into their bodies. How
did the sort of difficult relationship to food develop for you? Because you really do document sort of your whole life and your relationship to food. Do you realize a point when it sort of went astray?
I do. You know, when I wrote my first book, I've been writing now full-time for 4 years, and you know, the nice thing about being a writer is that you don't have a boss, but the bad thing about being a writer is that you don't have a boss. And I was alone in the basement and no one telling me what to do and what not to do and what to eat and when to eat. And it's also relatively lonely writing books, which I found out, and so I would take myself out to these lunches just to get some breathing room and some fresh air, and oftentimes those lunches didn't end up at the salad bar. And so when I was writing the first book, I put on a tremendous amount of weight in a short amount of time, which is the worst way to do it. And that's when I suddenly looked up and realized that my entire body had really changed. I've never obviously been a svelte guy, but all of a sudden I went from having a few pounds around the middle to really being in a much different weight class.
And when you went on this journey, this 50-week journey, aside from cooking for yourself, what were the other big changes that you made?
Well, I found a nutritionist, and I found the biggest thing is a trainer, a fellow by the name of David Keller, who really helped me recreate my relationship with exercise as well as food. But in the end, frankly, I ended up in Weight Watchers. You know, I was paid money by a publisher to write this book and to go off on this year-long journey. Most folks don't have, of course, that luxury of money or time. And so about halfway through the year, I transitioned out of trainers and nutritionists and into Weight Watchers. You know, Weight Watchers cost about $1 a day.
So and it works.
It really does work, and it's a program that worked for me. Whatever works for other people, I realize that spending a tremendous amount of money on your health is not something that most folks can do, but I think that anybody can find $1 a day to put towards the rest of their life. And I thought that it really worked for me, and it was more emblematic of what the nation itself can handle.
And so what was the end result? Did you end up losing those 50 pounds in 50 weeks?
I came darn close. I lost 46, and I thought very hard about just saying I lost 50. And other than the James Fry aspect of saying 50, I also thought that saying that I lost 50 would have negated the the accomplishment of losing the 46, which I was very proud of.
Absolutely. And now 1 year out, how's it going?
Ups and downs.
Ups and downs.
Strikes and gutters. There are, I've put a little bit of weight back on. I've lost a little bit of weight. It's an ongoing battle for me, but I think that that's really where the book ends. This is not a how-to, and this is not a success story where I end up in a bikini telling everybody how great I look. Frankly, this is a situation that I'm going to be in for the rest of my life, and there will be seasons and years where I look great and seasons and years where I could look better, and that's me. And that's what I'm trying to do, is to stay more on the healthy side than I've been before.
And what has the response been from other men out there? So often these weight loss books focus on women, but have you had quite a response from men?
Yeah, it's been a great response. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nutritionist. I'm every man, if you will. Hopefully every man with a sense of humor who can talk about this subject in a way that most folks can relate to. And the response from men, frankly, has been terrific. A lot of people saying, wow, you're in my head and you're just like me. And I think that's helpful. And also it's told with a real sense of humor. It's not a lecture and it's not a how-to. And so it
and
shows
you don't
a lot
pretend to have all the answers.
To say the least, I'm still trying to figure out the questions.
Right.
And I think people appreciate that, and they've been able to relate to it as a consequence.
Absolutely. Ed Ugel, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm with Fatty is available in bookstores now. And for the latest health news, be sure to visit the health page at abcnews.com.